Will everyone please join me in Gassho as I recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. In reflecting on the great ocean of Shinjin, I realize there is no discrimination between noble and humble, or black-robed monks and white-clothed laity, no differentiation between man and woman, old and young. It is simply Shinjin that is inconceivable, inexplicable, and indescribable. It is like the medicine that eradicates all poisons. The medicine of the Tathagata's vow destroys the poisons of our wisdom and foolishness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam Mandavs. Nam Mandavs. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin my Dharma talk, I would like to publicly address our Catholic friends in the community and around the world. Our deepest and most sincere condolences for the recent passing of Pope Francis. I was quite shocked and I knew that he wasn't well, but it was a shock to me that he had passed away, that he had lived long enough to actually greet the followers of the Catholic Church on Easter Sunday and then pass away on Easter Monday. So that is a story worth telling. But I would like to once again extend my deepest condolences to the Catholic community for this loss, because Pope Francis really was a beacon of togetherness, pluralism in society, and acceptance of people. And I can only hope that the Catholic Church, in their wisdom, also elects a new Pope who continues this message of togetherness and love and care and compassion for all people, which is the message that Pope Francis said. Now back to our Dharma talk today. I would first like to offer my warmest and most sincere congratulations to the Tacoma Buddhist Women's Association for celebrating 100 years of existence. Please join me in congratulating the Buddhist Women's Association of Tacoma Buddhist Temple. When we think about our sect of Buddhism, Jodo Shinshu, we cannot tell this story of our religion, of our sect of Buddhism, without acknowledging the incredible women who contributed to this religion. For those of you who do not know, Shinran Shonin, who is enshrined here, is the founder of our sect. And yet, when we tell the story of Shinran, we cannot not tell the story or how he came to meet his wife, Lady Eshini, who is depicted on the wall in the blue head covering, and then Kakushini, his daughter, who is wearing the pink covering. And in fact, actually, when you go to Japan and you visit the Otani Honbyo in Kyoto, Japan, there's actually a dedication to Kakushini, and a huge stone dedication to Kakushini there at the mausoleum, because that is the original site of our head temple in Japan, and was dedicated and was actually made possible because of Kakushini. So when we think about our order, our sect, our temple, we realize that without the women in this organization, within this tradition, this temple would not be here. Jodo Shinshu is a sect of Buddhism that follows the Pure Land teaching. And in its time, it has seen much change and much evolution. Buddhism itself has seen the same. Now, of course, in today's world, it is important to understand that Buddhism is, especially Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion, the Buddha of infinite light and life. The wisdom and compassion is for all sentient beings, including women. The sad truth is that Buddhism is not free from sexist, misogynist, or chauvinistic history. While other religions may get a lot of flack for putting down women or trying to put women in their place, unfortunately, Buddhism is no exception. to this. This could be based on various societal things. When Buddhism came into China, Confucianism was the strong religion there at the time. And in Confucianism, everybody has their place, including women. So when Buddhism came to China, it was hard for them to resolve that bhikkhunis or nuns were actually able to also walk along the path of the Buddha Dharma. And then in this regard as well, Pure Land Buddhism also has its state of, its interesting history with women. Now, as you all know, Amida Buddha has made 48 vows when he became before he was a bodhisattva and before he became a Buddha. He made 48 vows. One of the most complicated vows that I know of is vow number 35, which basically states that if and when I become a Buddha, this is Bodhisattva Dharmakara talking, if and when I become a Buddha, all the women who sincerely wish to be born in my land wish to be born in my land and renounce their womanly beings and then are not born into my land as a man, may I not become a Buddha. Now, in today's standards, this of course sounds quite troublesome because it implies that there is something wrong with the woman form or that there is something wrong with woman inherently and therefore needs to be turned into a man in order to access the Dharma. But however, interestingly enough, at the time when this vow was conceived, it was considered revolutionary because the idea in traditional, maybe Mahayana Chinese Buddhism was that women had to go through a state of several rebirths to eventually become men and then become a monk, and then they can go either to the Pure Land or reach enlightenment. So to actually have a vow that said that no, actually they can bypass that and be born into the Pure Land and then become men in the Pure Land, then things will be good. This vow was actually researched by scholars and has been concluded that it was added later on when Pure Land Buddhism entered into China. And this was to accommodate the thinking of the time of the heavy Confucius vows. And again, right, Buddhism itself is not exempt from chauvinistic or sexist ideologies at the time. And this unfortunately transferred over to Japan as well, where, in a sense, Japanese society was a little bit different at the time. Believe it or not, during Esheni's time, Shinran Shonin's wife, women were actually allowed to own property. Women were actually allowed to own land. They were actually bequeathed servants in wills. It was not until the Edo period, or Tokugawa Japan, in the 1600s, that Neo-Confucianism entered Japan, and women were once again expected to take on more quote-unquote womanly roles. And then, of course, in that time as well, the householder version of Buddhism started to become more prevalent, and of course, women were actually seen more as caregivers for the temple. One of the terminologies behind this role was called bomori, okay? And in fact, actually, this is one of the terms that was actually given to the wife of the priest, a caregiver of the temple to look after the temple while the minister has to be away, right? So it wasn't until really the Tokugawa period where we actually start seeing this more strict sort of, adhering towards women roles and male roles. I am happy to say that while we still have much progress to make in our society and still very much need to come to this ultimate realization of equality throughout all peoples, Buddhism has evolved in a way as well. In Japan, women now are able to become jushoku, or head priests of temples, which of course I am happy to say that my wife, Reverend Cindy Yasaki, is a head priest of the White River Buddhist Temple. Believe it or not, this is a recent development within the Jodo Shinshu Hongan Jiha, our sect of Buddhism. And unfortunately, while it was not born out of a sense of progress or a sense of equality, it was born out of a sense of necessity. Due to the very strict nature of Confucius ideologies that still exists in Japan today, we can currently see a population crisis that they are facing. We are seeing that they are not having children as fast as, as fast as their population is aging. There is still a very big population crisis in Japan. People are not getting married, right? All of these things are forcing Japan to change, whether they like it or not. But because of this, there was a need for temples to be served. And it's an adjustment for society as well. But as we can see in the history of Buddhism and women, Buddhism itself has many stories of incredible women who carried these teachings on to the several next generations that continue to pass this tradition until today. Jodo Shinshu is a religion where sentient beings are all given the benefit of wisdom and compassion by Amida Buddha. And as stated before in my opening quote, Shinran himself ultimately said that there is no discrimination between noble, humble, or black-robed monks and white-clothed laity, no differentiation between man and woman, old and young. So ultimately, Shinran himself acknowledges that there is no difference in receiving benefit or karmic benefit or Buddhist benefit just because he is a man. BCA and the Tacoma Buddhist Temple have a long history here in the United States. Recently, last year, the Buddhist Churches of America celebrated its 125th anniversary, 125 years. And then today, we at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple are celebrating our Buddhist Women's Organization's 100-year anniversary. As long as since I've been born, and as long as I've been living and going to temple, and I was raised in the temple, there has always been a Fujinkai, or a Buddhist Women's Association, who ensures the running of the temple, who ensures that the temple runs smoothly, who ensures that temple events and fundraisers are well attended. My history with the Tacoma Buddhist Temple is still very young. I was only assigned here back at the very middle of July 2020, or August of 2020. I arrived in July. And unfortunately, I did not get to meet all of the members right then and there, as we were in the time of the pandemic. But I would like to recognize a special individual who has been with me, who has been assisting me, and who has been really just ensuring that I am in the know of all of the Buddhist Women's Association events. And that is the Tacoma Buddhist Women's Association's president, Denise Klein, who unfortunately could not be with us today and had to leave. So Denise Klein has ensured that I know who people are. She ensures that I am aware of when all of the Buddhist Women's Association's events are. And as the time at the temple started to become busier and I was being pulled in every which direction, whether it be to California for teaching seminars or having to do memorial services, Denise Klein has been one of the most compassionate and most understanding individuals who I've ever met coming to this temple. She truly, in my personal opinion, embodies the quality of a Buddha Dharma leader, who, while of course makes sure that I know when all of the important and events that I should be at are, never holds it against me if a memorial service or if there's other temple business that pulls me away. She also makes sure that I am supported. Every single time a big event has happened here at the temple, her first question to me has been, "Sensei, what do you need help with?" Being the person that I am, sometimes stubborn, can be very self-centered at times as well, it's also hard for me to ask for help. It's hard for me to delegate. I want to do everything by myself. And Denise has always come to me with a great big smile on her face and has said, Sensei, we're ready to help you. This is the kind of compassion and the kind of deep feeling of kimochi, of good feeling, that the BWA has always given me. And it's not only because from a young age, and especially ever since I told my family and my other relatives that I wanted to become a minister of the Buddhist Churches of America. One of the first things that was told to me when I was early on, and the biggest pieces of advice was, always be on the good side of the BWA. Never, ever get on their bad side. This was warned to me from my time when I was at the Sacramento Betsuin all the way until now. And I have always done my best to try and heed that advice. Because the Buddhist women's, and it's not because we should be afraid of them. No, not at all, not at all. We should always see our BWA members as wonderful and helpful and caring individuals, which they are. But it is because it is incredibly acknowledged, even by everybody, all generations, of how important and how essential the Buddhist Women's Association is to our organization. If the Buddhist Women's Association did not exist, our Buddhist Churches of America would not be here. And it's not only because they are in supporting roles. Yes, they're the backbone of the temple, they provide the support, but they are also leaders of the temple as well. They continue to lead the next generation. This type of leadership is something that I think should even be going on resumes when we apply for jobs and when you apply for school. Being a member and even an officer in the Buddhist Women's Association is a building block of leadership because it teaches you how to lead a group of people in a time of need, how to lead a group of people when there is a fundraiser or when there is a large event. So we should not think of the Buddhist churches, of the Buddhist Women's Association as just the helpers in the kitchen. Absolutely not. This is an empowering group that continues to lead our temple into the direction of progress and into the direction of a more Buddha Dharma society. And it's because they teach selflessness, they teach respect for elders and tradition, and they teach nurturing of the next generation. Not because they are women, but because they are leaders. Being women in Buddhism is not always easy. Not that I speak from experience, but have seen over and over again that organizationally speaking, women are not always acknowledged. The efforts of the BWA are not always publicly thanked. And this is a problem still in our organization and beyond. The hard efforts of the Buddhist Women's Association must always be acknowledged. This is why we have special services like the Eshini Kakushini service and Lady Takeko Kujo service. It's not just to do it out of filial piety, but it's the recognition of their gift of wisdom and compassion to this community. And I cannot imagine any temple in the BCA without the Buddhist Women's Association. I cannot imagine any temple outside of our organization without a strong women's organization to help lead it into the future. As we go into the future and as we continue to lead our temple into the future, I am in complete faith and in trust that the BWA will be there to help lead this temple into that future. So I know that we've done this already and that and that it's, hopefully your legs aren't getting too tired, but I would like the members of all BWA, whether you're at Tacoma Buddhist Temple or not, to please stand and be recognized by this congregation for your hard efforts and your leadership in this community. Please rise now. I also asked them to rise because some of them actually had to come in a little bit later in the service after the initial ask to stand was there. But I would once again, to each and every member of the Buddhist Women's Association, thank you for your dedication to this temple, for your support of this community, and your leadership of this Sangha into the future. Will you all please join me in Gassho as I once again recite the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. In reflecting on the great ocean of Shinjin, I realize that there is no discrimination, humble and humble, or black-robed monks and white-clothed laity, no differentiation between man and woman, old and young. It is simply Shinjin that is inconceivable, inexplicable, and indescribable. It is like the medicine that eradicates all poisons. The medicine of the Tathagata's vow destroys the poisons of our wisdom and foolishness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.